My name is Melissa Houston, and I am the network developer with Alaska SourceLink. We are a program of the University of Alaska Center for Economic Development, and based on the UAA campus here in Anchorage, but we work with businesses, particularly in rural Alaska and all across the state, as well as to some degree in the urban areas as well. And we received some funding from USDA in the form of a Rural Business Opportunities Grant to do some statewide and particularly rural outreach to help connect folks in remote places across Alaska with different business resources that can help them to start or to grow their business. So, through the year, we developed the webinar series, and this is actually the final webinar in this series that's been called the Build Your Business Rural Entrepreneur webinar series. So all the recordings of each of the webinars that we have hosted, it's been 7 in total, are all available on the Alaska SourceLink website in the AK SourceLink resource library. So if you want to go back and revisit this information at any time, I will have both the audio and visual recordings as well as the documents. So my PowerPoint, this introduction PowerPoint, and any other related documents. And Sarah, you're able to see the visual now, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, great. I want to start out by giving you a little bit of background information on Alaska SourceLink, who we are and what we do, and why we're involved in business startups. So first of all, AK SourceLink, like I already mentioned, is a free online resource that is run out of the University of Alaska system. You can access us primarily on the AK SourceLink website, which is aksourcelink.com. We also have a toll-free hotline, so you can reach us at 888-546525, which is 8885-LINK-AK. So we keep a hotline in place from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, so regular business working hours, and you can reach one of our business specialists at that time, and we can help guide you through the different resources that are available on the website. Through our network, we have 145 different business resource providers that are located and that service areas all across the state of Alaska. So a little bit more into our partner network in a few minutes, but we have 145 different folks that we can help connect you to through our website. A few different resources I'd like to highlight. The first one does touch on that resource partner network, and it's the Resource Navigator. And if you do visit our website later on to get the download of this recording, you can also download, as I mentioned, this presentation alongside it. And when you do, in the PDF format, these links will be accessible. So you can click right on this heading and be directly to that area of the website. So if you come back, just know that you can interact with this PDF a little bit more. But the Resource Navigator, that's a search engine that's internal to the AK SourceLink site that allows you to connect with our resource network. It pretty much works by telling us just a little bit about who you are, what your business is. So we can ask, what's your zip code, where are you located in the state, what type of industry are you in, and what type of assistance do you need help with. So maybe you need help with marketing or business plans or finances or what to do import-export business, any array of topics. You can search through it through our drop-down listing of different topics, and then from there you can find the different help that you need via the different resource providers that help to address those needs. So once you've answered those questions and you've let us know what question is that you have, up pops a little list of all the different resource providers who do in one way or another work directly within that field, industry, or area of need that you have. Then that list is up, you'll be able to see not only what the organization is, but also who to contact there, and a little synopsis about who they are and what they do. And then either save that PDF to your desktop, or you can print it off for later or email it to yourself. Either way, it stays accessible for you to use so that you can always be connected with those different resources. Outside of that, if you don't have a specific question per se, or you're not looking to get connected with a different resource provider, but rather just learn some generalized information, that's when you access the resource library. And you can see a picture of what that looks like on the bottom left-hand side there. Essentially, it is kind of what it sounds like. It's a library listing by topic of all the different resources that business owners often have questions about, either when they're in the startup stage or in the expansion stage. So again, say that you have questions about marketing in Alaska, or maybe just do business in Alaska. You're not sure what kind of permits and licenses and regulations surround the industry that you're trying to break into. You can visit our resource library and find generalized information that's been put out oftentimes by our resource provider network. So they're trusted links. They're all taking you to quality websites with real information, no scam artists, fake offers, nothing of those sorts, but just good solid information that can help you cast into all the different topics of needs that you might have. Next, kind of along that line, if you're looking to get connected with just some basic business tips, trends, and talk from across the nation, you can read our blog, which is populated once to twice a week, every week. It's actually a shared blog through all of the U.S. SourceLink affiliates. I failed to mention earlier that AK SourceLink is a model of program that is actually happening nationwide through what is called the U.S. SourceLink affiliate program. So there are about 20 different SourceLink affiliates all around the United States. They all specialize in different services. They all encompass different size and types of regions and demographics. But we work in collaboration with one another to help entrepreneurs across the country access the tools and the resources that they need to start or grow. So through the shared blog concept, we have different blog post authors from all around the country contributing to one shared blog that U.S. SourceLink puts up, and then that other SourceLink affiliates are able to draw from. So the benefit to us here in Alaska is that not only do we have posts written by Alaskans for Alaskans, but we also have posts written from Americans all across the country who are sometimes facing similar trials as a small business owner. Maybe you're facing different trials that you haven't faced here in Alaska yet. And so it offers a different degree of perspective that you don't always get when you're just talking to people from the same geographic location as yourself. But we're getting a very diversified base of input from all over the country. And blog. But if you're looking specifically for Alaska-related content, then that's when I would recommend checking out our newsletter. It's e-newsletter, so it goes out via email once a month. It gives you an update of some of the different events that we have going on around the state that apply directly to small businesses. And it also gives you some information on just, what's happening in the business climate here in Alaska. What are some of the things you need to know about or be looking for? And then it also gives you links to go back to the blog and the calendar and get more resources in that way. So it's a way to keep up with what Alaska SourceLink is doing programmatically, but also to keep up with the business environment across Alaska. We have our AK SourceLink statewide calendar, and the calendar lists different events that are happening for small businesses all around the state. And one cool thing about this calendar, two things. The first thing, that all the different topics of events listed on the calendar are color-coded. So if you're only looking for networking events, then you can uncheck all the other colored boxes and just see the networking events. So that way, it really allows you to filter through exactly what you're looking for on the calendar. Also, there's a map of Alaska just underneath the calendar, and it's an interactive map, so you can click on the region that you're in, and all of the events on the map narrow down to leave only those which are open to you in that region. So, for example, if you're in interior Alaska and you want to filter out all of the things that are happening in Anchorage or in Southwest or Southeast, then just click on interior Alaska, and it will only leave those events which are happening either live in person in that region or which are available via webinar or teleconference. Much like today's, a webinar is available anywhere you are in the state, even though it's being hosted here in Anchorage. That's how a lot of the business trainings and classes are today. Even if they're hosted in person in one city, they're still available via webinar. So it's well to narrow down exactly for your region. Finally, I want to let you know that Alaska SourceLink is also on social media, so if you want to keep up to the minute date with all the news that's happening, again, both programmatically as well as just business events across the state, you'll definitely want to like our page on Facebook. Or if you are a Twitter-inclined individual, then you'll want to like us at AKSourceLink. So Facebook, Twitter, another two great outlets through which you can get connected with the program. I personally personalized assistance, you can contact me. That's my personal email address and phone number. If you call the Alaska SourceLink hotline, which is at the top of our website on any page that you visit through AKSourceLink, that will also ring at my desk, so you can get in touch with me that way as well. Like I mentioned at the beginning, if you missed a webinar in this series, or if you attended a webinar and you thought, gosh, I really wish that so-and-so was able to listen in on that, then you should definitely visit that link below. That takes you directly to the AKSourceLink resource library, where we have the new webinar archive, where you can watch all of the 7 different webinars that have been in this series and get all caught up on everything that we have had to offer through this. And last, catch my breath and go ahead and get started on how to write a business plan. It's really a business plan breakdown, if you will. But before I get started, if either of you have any questions specifically that you want answered through this process, please feel free to stick that in the chat box either now or at any time, and I will keep trying to glance down there to it. Also, since there are only a few of us on the line, if you want to just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask me over the audio, I'm fine with that too. Just feel free to interrupt whenever you'd like a question addressed. That's everything for housekeeping. So just to give you an idea of what this is going to look like, we're going to spend just probably about the next 30 minutes. So I'll be rushing through it just a little bit, but I want to leave a little time for Q&A at the end. I'll start off by talking about some of the importances of writing a business plan, why people even do it, why everyone says that it's important, and what I hope to get out of it. And then I will break down the 10 different sections of a business plan and how what nuts and bolts that go into each of those sections. What do you hope to achieve during that section? Who should it speak to? What should it look like? And what content should be in there? And I want to throw out, too, before we get started, that the majority of the information that I have included in this PowerPoint actually comes from a book that we published through the University of Alaska Center for Economic Development back in 2008 and called Steps to Success for Rural Entrepreneurs, a guide to writing your small business plan. And this is about an 80-page, just spiral-bound document that is available free of charge on the Alaska SourceLink website. You can print that off and you can fill it out. It's a completely interactive workbook that walks you through each sections of a business plan and gives you a template through which you can really start to complete that. I will be posting a link to that download with recording and the other documents for this webinar, so you can go to the webinar archive and access that. Also, if you would like a hard copy, you can send me an email or call the Alaska SourceLink hotline, get me your address, and I'm happy to stick a hard copy in the mail for you as well. We'll get started here. All right. So there are really 4 different main reasons that you want to write a business plan. And the first reason is the idea development. You know, oftentimes when entrepreneurs have a business idea, it's something that is entirely conceptual. They've sit through, they've stayed up late at night, and they've mapped this whole plan out in their minds. Very rarely until the business plan stage have they actually written it down in a way that is thorough, in a sort of timeline, and really putting words to that idea so that it's not just conceptual for themselves, but it's easily translatable to anyone else who wants to learn about their business. So during the idea development, not only are you taking your concepts and putting them on paper, but you also are given the opportunity to start identifying the next steps in your business plan and start looking at the gaps and getting started. Because as you start to discipline your thoughts and write everything down in a clear and organized manner, you can not only all those really cool, fun, awesome, great aspects of your business plan, but also those areas where you might need a little bit of extra help, or you might need to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And writing everything down helps with that stage. It also helps you to identify the feasibility of your idea. You might have an idea to open up a pet store here in Anchorage, but there might be 5 other pet stores across town. And in fact, you live down on Diamond and you want to open up a pet store there, but as it turns out, There's already a pet store down there. So looking at the feasibility and trying to figure out, is this actually viable? Or maybe you decide that you want to sell elephants at your pet store, and that's a niche because no one sells elephants at their pet store. But can you actually import elephants? Is it actually legal to sell elephants? And that's kind of an outrageous example, but just touch on that idea of feasibility. Is your business something that's viable? Is it possible? Is it realistic? Finally, it gives you an opportunity to estimate your revenue and expenses. For example, you might have an idea of how much you want to sell your elephants for, but then you find out that elephants eat on average, and making this number up, but have their body weight in food every day. And as it turns out, it's expensive to feed an elephant. And when it's all said and done, you expect to make a revenue of about $100 every month. And that's all you've projected to bring in each month for the next year. Is $100 in profits every month for the next year something that you want to do? Is that an investment that you want to make? Do you love elephants and want to share your love of elephants so much that you're willing to have that business and only have that small profit margin? Or is it something you need to tweak your idea a little bit and maybe sell giraffes too? Next, a business plan gives you the opportunity to have a strategic planning tool, to really have a document in place that maps out the short-term as well as the long-term goals and marketing strategy. And when you go into a business idea, you really have to be thinking about not just what you expect to happen next year or next month, but also what you expect to happen within the next 5 years and 10 years. And getting into an exit strategy. How do I want to leave the business? Is there a certain level that I want to reach and then sell it and move on to something new? This document gives you an opportunity to explore those goals and also to figure out how you want to market it so that you can achieve those goals. It also describes how you'll leverage your strengths and reduce your risks. As an entrepreneur and even just as a person, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And entrepreneurs often have really strong strengths in one area and very few skills in another area. So I've often heard it told that as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you want to hire for your weaknesses. So I have a young business owner who is a terrible accountant. He's not good with the finances. That's where his passion lies. He's about the product development, creating that product, and then marketing and manufacturing that product. But when it comes to keeping books and records and sending out invoices, that's not one of his strengths. So the first person he hired for his business was an accountant, someone who could handle that for him. The idea is identify your strengths and hire out for your weaknesses, because that's what's going to help you reduce your risks overall. Maybe you have all your bases covered. And finally, this document will help to identify the different targets that will help you to monitor and measure the success of your business. So going back to that idea of the pet store where you only make $100 profit every month, is that assessed for your business? One place to measure how much you expect to make every month, or are there other measurements? Does to rent out an elephant for a child's birthday party mean that that's a success? Does that help measure that? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So you want to have those different targets in place so that you know what your expectations are, so that you can always be working to meet those expectations. A business plan is not just for you. It's also for internal communication within your business as well as external communication, particularly at the business plan writing stage, that external communication is with funders. But first and foremost, a business plan is going to tell both you as well as others how the business is run. So it's a clear breakdown of what hierarchy is, who's in charge, who's responsible for what, who reports to who, and how the business actually happens. If you're a manufacturing business, are you manufacturing and distributing, and are you distributing direct to a supplier or direct to the consumer? It really breaks down what is chain through which your business is run. Some examples of internal raters might be business partners, if you're not going solo in this endeavor, or it could be your employees. Your employees having a clear vision of who's responsible for what and what the business means to achieve is really important, because as your employees are invested in your business and benefit from your success just as much as you do, the more invested and loyal they'll continue to be, and really the better off your business will be. Same with business partners. If the 2 of you or 3 of you aren't on the same page about the expectations of your business, then that's going to make for a pretty big mess later on down the road. So the business plan really helps to clarify that internally. Actually, vendors might include suppliers, consultants, accounting or legal services, and then other sources of outside assistance. Again, much like the financing and anyone who you hope to be winning a loan from, very interested in reading this business plan. Again, for the same reasons as it's good to have everyone on the same page internally, it's also good to have everyone on the same page externally. Because if these readers understand your business, then they can help you to be more effective. And finally, your business plan is, in the end, a sales document. It's a valuable tool for securing money from investors. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that it's completely critical to have a business plan in place if you intend to go to the bank to receive any sort of commercial loan for starting your business. I met with a young man not too long ago who had a $1 million contract with this huge industry here in Alaska, and they were ready to jump on it, but he had to manufacture his product before he could actually deliver that with company. And so I went to the bank, and the bank said, we don't care that you have a $1 million contract all lined up ready to go. Until we see your business plan, until we see your business penciling and know that it's feasible, we're not going to give you a loan. It's too risk. So even for someone who is bound to be successful, he still needs a business plan in place first and foremost. So your business plan sells your business idea to the bankers, agencies, and private backers. It's not just an opportunity to tell them that numerically and financially it's going to be feasible and it's going to be profitable and everyone will be happy and this will make their loan back plus interest. It's also an opportunity to really sell your idea, to say, this is passionate about this, and this is why every kid deserves a pet elephant, and this is why I would bring elephants to Anchorage, and I hope that you'll believe me in the same way that I believe in you. And it's a nice professional document through which you can convey that sentiment. And so a clear, concise, and compelling business plan will convince people to invest in you. So business plans are important on how they focus on the content, but also on the feeling and the passion that goes into them. Convince people to be as excited about your business as you are. Questions about the purpose of a business plan so far? Well, then we'll...
Oh, no, you said no, I'm good.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and jump right into the 10 different sections of a business plan. The executive summary, business description, industry overview, market analysis, the competitive analysis, market strategy, ownership, staffing, and management plan, financial plan, implementation summary, and finally, any concluding comments. Believe it or not, we're going to start out with the executive summary. This will appear at the beginning of the document. It's actually what's going to be written last. And the reason for that is that the executive summary is oftentimes the only thing that people are going to read. And if it's not the only thing that they're going to read, it is the first thing and the most important thing that they're going to read. They first read your executive summary, and then from that decide if the rest of your document is worthwhile. So if the summary isn't good, they're not going to jump into the rest of the document. You've already lost them. But we read at the very end so that you've had an opportunity to really flesh out your business idea and to get it solidified and to make sure that you understand exactly what it is that you want and that your document conveys exactly what it is that you want and what your business is going to be. And then you write at the very end. So even though it appears at the front of your document, you actually write it last. Be no more than 2 or 3 pages in length. Get an enthusiastic snapshot of your company, who you are, what you do, and why. Something should appear in the executive summary that doesn't appear in the document in other places. But it is a summary. It does want to be a summary of everything that you have in there. definitely the highlights. But you also don't want it to just be my business is X and we're going to provide Y and it's financially viable because of Z. You want it to be compelling. You want it to be that story that conveys the enthusiasm and excitement that you have about who you are, what your company is, and why you want to do what it is that you're going to do. Reviewing the executive summary, the reader should want to learn more about your business and should have a basic understanding about your company. Next comes your business description. This is typically 3 to 5 pages in length. Include your mission statement, which is the purpose of your business, your company vision, which is a statement about company growth. So your vision is why in business am I doing, what need am I fulfilling, and the vision is talking about where you want to be X number of years out or months out or whatever timeline it is that you're looking at. You also want to include your business goals and objectives. I talked about measuring success, and it's kind of hard to measure success if you don't know by standards you're measuring that. A brief history of the business, so about how you got the idea, if it's still in the very basic concept stage, maybe some of the groundwork that you've already done, investors that you've talked to, or a location that you've secured, or any other details that really fit into providing that history of what's happened so far. Bring the reader up to speed. And then also a list of key company principles. So along the idea of what's the purpose of the business and what do we hope to provide for the community, principles is your business running off of. So good to just kind of throw those out there so that everyone is on the same page about that. Doing the business description, readers should know who the business is and what it stands for. Also, your perception of the company's growth and potential, specific goals and objectives of the business, and again, any background information on the company. So the industry overview. This can be anywhere from just 1 to 2 pages or as long as maybe 5 to 10 pages. It really just depends on what type of industry you're getting into, how large and expansive that industry is, and how much detail you really need to go into to give an overview. The section should describe your business industry and the outlook for that industry. So in the pet shop industry, you want to be talking about what are pet shops doing here in Alaska or here in Anchorage, and even what are they doing nationally and what are they expected to do? Are people expected to want more pets over the next 10 years or fewer pets over the next 10 years? Sometimes it's easy to get that industry information. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, and that's where you have to partner with some different organizations who can maybe help you figure out some of that information if you're not able to find it on your own. You're going to want to describe any external factors that might affect your business. So say, for example, again, you want elephants at your pet shop, but as it turns out, it's illegal to sell elephants at your pet shop. Well, that's an external factor. Or say that the elephant population, and again, I know this is a ridiculous example, but that the elephant population were to continue declining, and all of a sudden there were no more elephants to have at your pet shop. Well, that's an external factor. It's not really in your control whether or not there are elephants available to bring your pet shop, but it's something that directly affects the potential success of your business. So you definitely want to look at that. You want to look at other external factors like shipping. Here in Alaska, we import a great deal of the products that we have available to people. So if for some reason, we were no longer able to bring elephants up on barges, that would be an external factor. Logistics is definitely something that we really have to focus on and think about here in Alaska because, for example, the price of logistics of getting your product to the state, or say that you're manufacturing here in state and you're exporting out of state, the price of brings in and sending things out can really cut into your profit margins depending on how that fluctuates. So just for example of an external factor that you need to be looking out for. In the industry overview. Reviewing the industry overview, the reader should know basic information about the industry you operate in and the customer needs that you're fulfilling. So the analysis is about 3 to 5 pages long, and this section should define the critical needs of your perceived or existing market. What are the needs that how are you fulfilling those. We kind of touched how you want to fulfill those earlier on. This is the section that really says these are the critical needs and this is why someone needs to fill them. Identifying your target market. If you're selling elephants at your pet shop, are you targeting kids? Are you targeting adults? Are you targeting a specific income bracket? Are you targeting a specific ethnic demographic? Are you targeting specifically rural or specifically urban or male or female? You name it. You really have to figure out who are you going after here? Who buys your product? Is your product typically a 35 to 45-year-old woman who's a mother of 2 to 3 children, has a certain dollar amount of expendable income, and who typically throws large birthday parties for her children, who have always wanted pet elephants? That's how specific these target markets can be. Sometimes it's not quite that specific. Sometimes it's just, well, I'm selling to adults of this certain age range, both male and female, with the amount of expendable income or not, who are located in this region or that region. So sometimes it's very specific, sometimes it's not. But you definitely have to realize that your product is for nobody, but rather for a specific target market, and you need to make sure that that's the market that you're trying to reach when you're focusing on marketing, and also that you can identify who that market is and talk a little bit about them. That's where the general profile of your targeted clients comes in. Who is the person who's going to buy these elephants. And then you want to describe what share of the market you currently have and or anticipate having. So if you're looking to have an elephant pet shop here in Anchorage, well, I could safely say that you would be the only elephant pet shop in all Alaska and all the United States, again, because it's illegal. You need to identify that. You need to say, if you're going to have a pet shop, who else has a pet shop? And is there room in the market for you to have a competitive edge? What are you doing that's going to be different? What creates that niche for you? And because of that niche, where of the market do you anticipate having? Reading this market analysis, the reader should know the scope and the share of your business market, as well as who your target customers are. Competitive analysis, which is typically 3 to 6 pages, and it should specifically describe all of your products and services. You want to name and describe your local, regional, and even national competitors, if that's relevant, and explain your products and services are competitive. And I talked about what's the niche. What are you doing that no one else is doing? What gives you that competitive edge? Is it how you brand your product? Is it how you market your product or to whom you're marketing your product? Is it design, which fits into the brand as well, or is it the product itself, or is there something slightly different? Say that you are selling fruit. Well, are you mailing that fruit to my door, or do you have a farmer's market set up that's open beyond just the weekends, or are you selling to grocery stores? What is it that you're doing in your business that makes it unique and that makes it different from the other products and services that are out there? I mentioned naming and describing your competitors. It kind of fits into that. The more you learn about your competitors, the more you can really figure out what is for yourself and how to tailor your product to make it as competitive as it can be. When it's applicable, you also want to reference a picture or a brochure of your products, which will be included then in the plan's appendix. The product that you've made a prototype of, or maybe you've already been selling and you've been selling your product on Etsy, for example, or maybe at the farmers markets or through a local store, and you really want to start expanding that. Having pictures all of your products that are already in existence is really beneficial because it, again, takes that concept and turns it into more of a reality and something visual that people can grasp onto and say, oh, I didn't understand how this was a different product than what you're telling me, but now that I see it, I understand that it is a lot different, and I think people are going to want this. So reviewing this section, people should know why you're in business. What products and services do you have? What demand are you filling? Why do you want to do this? They should also understand what products and services are and how much they sell for. You do want to make sure that you include some of the numbers. We're starting to get into the numbers sections. You want to have an idea of what your product is worth. Think about the amount of time that it took to get either by yourself or by any employees that you have, any cost of shipping that you might incur, the cost of your products, and then how much profit you want to make on top. So it's important to know in this section how much you're selling your products or services for. And finally, you want to make sure your reader understands how and why your products and services are competitive. So that brings us into our marketing strategy. Now we have a great product and we're ready to start a great business, but we have to explain how we're going to tell people about this product, how we're going to make sure that they can't miss it. Section is going to identify and describe your market, who your customers are, and what the demand is for your products and services. If you've had 5 different parents come up to you and tell them that their child is just dying to have an elephant for their birthday, then that kind of starts to describe the market, that customers are there and there's a demand and no one else sells elephants, and so this is something people want and we want to fulfill that. You describe your channels of distribution. Be talking about, are you marketing your product and distributing it online, sell via e-commerce, or are you going to have a storefront, or are you going to be selling to other stores in the region or other stores nationally maybe? Who's going to be selling it? Are you distributing that product? You explain your sales strategy, specific to pricing, promotion, products, and place, the 4 P's. So pricing, of course, you make sure that you have competitive pricing, but also pricing that generates the profit margin that you're looking for and is able to cover all of your base expenses. With promotion, you want to figure out, okay, well, kind of how am I marketing this? How am I promoting my product? How am I branding it? Where am I advertising? How are people going to learn that I'm here and that this thing is happening? Also, your products itself. The chronic problem amongst many serial entrepreneurs, they see this great idea and all of a sudden they just want to jump on it. So you might go from having a pet store that sells elephants to having a pet store that also sells, has nothing to do with elephants. And all of a sudden people walk in and they're confused because I thought that this was a pet store of elephants, but now I'm seeing puppies. And puppies have nothing to do with elephants. And you said puppies were a great idea because everyone loves puppies, everyone wants puppies, but it really didn't fit in with your original idea. So you have to be careful about your products and explain that strategy. Say, well, right now I have elephants and I hope to expand to turtles and puppies and birds and, X, Y, and Z, name it. Or it might be, no, I'm just going to have elephants and this is the niche and this is where the profit is and this is what I want at my pet store. So explain that strategy behind how you chose those products and how you plan to expand those product lines. Your place. Where you position yourself is really critical. If you're in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere and no one can find you, then no one will find you. It's not on anyone's drive home. They're not going to see it from the street. They're not really going to think about you because you're not in front of them. Or, you might be just selling online and an actual brick and mortar building isn't relevant to you. So then you need to be thinking about place in terms of, are you showing up on the internet? Are you selling just through Etsy? Are you selling through Amazon? Are you selling through eBay? Are you selling through websites, your own website? Are you selling through partner websites? Are you selling through Fred Meyer online? You need to identify what your place is going to be and how you're going to put yourself out there through that place. Viewing the section, your readers should know about who your market is and how you plan to reach it. Also, how your company will apply pricing, promotion, product diversification, and channel distribution to sell your products and your services competitively. Again, you can have the best product out there, but if people don't know about it and you're not able to get it to them, distribute it, then it's not possible. It's going to work for anyone. So I also want to go over your ownership, staffing, and management plan. That typically happens in about 2 to 3 pages. Throughout the section, you want to provide a description of how your company is organized as well as an organization chart if available. I mentioned this a little bit in, what's the purpose of writing a business plan and how it's important for everyone to know how your company is organized. So as you begin to expand, you have that structure already built in place so that there's not confusion about how this is looking, who's doing what department's in charge of what, breakdowns, and how a business is built. We want to try to mitigate any of those issues right here from the get-go by talking about how it's organized. As the owner, it's important for any investors or anyone else who read your business plan to understand what your role in the company is going to be. Sometimes the owners are also the CEOs and managers, and sometimes the CFOs, and sometimes they're also the producer, sometimes they're also the marketing agent, the accountant, name it. So many entrepreneurs, when they first start their business, do everything. It's just them. But then, as that business starts to expand, you want to know how that looks. A lot of successful businesses now have owners who aren't involved in the business at all. They have a trusted staff with a manager who's on site, assistant managers, and different employees on down from there, and they have to be there running the business day in, day out. So there's so many different ways that you can set your piece in a business that it's important for investors to know how involved you intend to be. What is your role in the company, and what is everyone else's role in the company? Organization chart is sometimes, a full way of describing how that's going to look. I want to describe the legal structure of your business. Is it a proprietorship, a partnership, a corporation, a cooperative, etc.? The list goes on. You have limited liability companies. With a proprietorship, it means, with a sole proprietorship, it means that you are the individual owner. With ownership, you have 2 or more individuals who are equally vested in the company. And a corporation is, beyond that. And then a cooperative is where different businesses are meeting needs together. So there are all sorts of different ways to legally structure your business. But once it's structured that way, it is very difficult to change it. So if you start your business and you register your business license under an LLC, a limited liability company, then you really go into a sole proprietorship from there. You have to pull a separate business license and have essentially a separate business to really legally make that work. So I would definitely recommend that you meet with someone for legal guidance who can help you figure out how you want to set up your business and what it means for you on down the road. You also identify your necessary or special licenses and or permits for your business to operate. So if we're talking about pet stores that sell exotic animals, I'm pretty certain that there would be some specialized license to go along with that. For any company or store that sells alcohol or tobacco, there are special licenses and permits that accompany that. Do business internationally, there are certain licenses that accompany that. Doing business in the state of Alaska, in the state of Anchorage, it kind of goes on. But there's a lot that you want to look into to making sure that you're maintaining the legal status with your business and you have all of the appropriate licenses and permits to work there before you open doors. And the business plan gives you an opportunity to go out and look for all of those and make sure that you do have all your ducks in a row before you get started. I want to provide a brief bio description of any key managers within the company. Again, this kind of gives investors and anyone who's reading your business plan an opportunity to be sold not only the idea but on you, to feel like you and the managers who you've got into your team are great people who have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of drive, and a lot of know-how, and they think that you're going to succeed. So introducing them to the key managers gives them an opportunity to get a little bit more acquainted with them and their skill sets, so they see it as lower risk for them. They see it as they're investing in someone who they know a little bit and who they think is adequately prepared to handle this task. After reviewing this section, the reader should know about the legal form of ownership for your business, who leaders in your business are as well as their roles, and the general flow of operations within business. The financial plan, and this is sometimes what people get a little bit turned away from. Sometimes it's really easy for them, but this is the number section. It starts out by estimating the startup costs, writing down everything you can think of that might go into starting your business. But you also want to look in the future. You want to have a projected balance sheet for at least 1 year forward. And I've read that if you're an existing business, you should have it for at least 3 years forward. You also have your projected income statement, again, it's 1 year forward, and your projected cash flow statement. And that's 12 months forward, meaning, from the day you open your business, you want to be looking 12 years, not just one year to the next, but 12. So broken down for that year, I guess, is what I'm getting at. You want to know what the cash flow is going to be for every month for the next 12 months forward, not just in year increments. In addition to everything listed above, if you're applying for a loan, make sure that you have your current personal financial statement on each principal, so everyone whose name is going to be on that loan, whether it's you or you and a partner or you and someone else who's claiming some responsibility if you were to default on that loan, you have all of those personal financial statements available in your business plan. And then also have your federal tax return for the prior year, because banks are all about taking risks and making investments based off of low risks. So knowing about how you handle your money personally will display a little bit of background on how they might expect to handle your money in business. Reviewing the section, the reader should have a good understanding regarding the financial capacity and/or the projections for your company. There we have your implementation summary. And this is typically about 3 to 5 pages, and it should include a complete list of everything that needs to be done to move your business forward. So take up all of those costs that you figured up in that last section and figure out where those costs are coming from. What's every step involved in this? To get your business started, you need to go after your licenses. You need to find a location. You need to have some startup funding. You need to do X, Y, and Z. All of those things need to be in a complete list so that anyone who reads your business plan knows that you have a thorough plan in place, that you're not just kind of figuring out as each day goes by what the next step is, but rather that you know what it's going to take to get you from point A to point B from where you are today to the type of business you want to have tomorrow. In addition to just having that list, you also want to include estimated start and finish dates for each activity and the associated funding. So say that you're going out looking for properties to rent. You want to have an idea of how long you anticipate that taking. Maybe you think that you find something in a week. The market is good. There's a lot of vacancy in commercial rental properties. You've found a store that you think that you'll be able to sign for. Maybe it's a short amount of time, but it could be a few months. Maybe the market is tight and you haven't really come across a location that's suitable. So have that start and finish date for each activity, and then also know what it's going to cost. Know how much money is going to be associated with each of those activities and stages. So viewing this section, the reader should be able to tell readers how you will put into practice what you have described. So again, you just really want to take any concepts that you have about your business and be able to translate that in a clear, concise, logical pattern for people to read and follow and say, oh, I get that, that makes sense. Or here, let me identify some gaps for you. Or, hey, have you thought of that? So it's an opportunity to make sure that your reader knows what you know. So you have your concluding comments, which comes at the end of the document. Remember, you will still be writing your executive summary after this, but it will appear at the beginning of the document. The concluding comments are very similar to your executive summary, but they do actually appear at the end of the document. It's typically about 1 to 2 pages, and it's basically just a brief summary of what you've already written. As it mentions here on the PowerPoint, it can essentially be a reworked version of the executive summary. So you don't have any new information in the concluding comments or in the executive summary, but to be that kind of brief area where anyone who maybe hasn't thoroughly read your whole document has an opportunity to go and get just concluding right there. And reviewing the section, the reader should understand your company and industry, the product or service, the marketing approach, management and staffing team, and the financial projections. So putting together those concluding comments, just make sure that you're kind of ticking off each of those to-dos. And if you have any more questions, it's the same contact information as above. Just another reminder, and I will allow a few minutes here for questions, but just a reminder that we will have this webinar recorded and put up on the website, as well as all the other webinars in the program. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask via audio or in the comment box, chat box. It's a lot of information to take in really quickly. I typically give this presentation over about an hour and a half and go into a little bit more detail, so a lot to take in over a short period of time. But I want to remind you that if you want that workbook, the Guide to Writing Your Small Business Plan, it is available on the AKSourceLink website in electronic form, or I'd be happy to mail you a hard copy, or if you're here in Anchorage, you can come by the office and pick one up.
Where is it located?
Diplomacy Building, south of campus.
Okay.
Give you actual physical address and directions offline here.
Okay.
So, other questions about information? Okay, thank you. Thank you both very much for hanging in there today. I apologize for the late start. Was hoping that some more folks would join us, but it looks like it just remained the few of us. So if you found the information helpful, please do feel free to share it with your friends via our website. And if you have any questions that you think of later, feel free to send me an email. Thanks for being a part of the day. Yeah, the afternoon.
You too.
Bye-bye.